YouTube, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a blending tutorial. It's more intended to showing you guys my blending techniques and how I achieve a blurry fade. So to begin the tutorial, we're going to start with a number 2 guard, opening up the lever. This creates the 2.5. This is the perfect video if you're barely starting to cut hair and you guys just want to get a general idea on how to blend lines out and how to create crispy transitions between guidelines. So once you guys take down that bulk, the next step is to grab your trimmer. For this video, I'm using my Absolute Hitters by Stylecraft and Gamma. We're starting the fade at the temple of the head. This is called a no hook mid fade. So what no hooks means is that right there at the temple of the head, you guys can see in this hairline there's a C cup area. We're erasing that, and typically no hook mid fades are a little bit higher than mid fades that have hooks. So right there at the back of the head, his occipital bone is a bone that protrudes in the back of the neck. We aim for that first point right there at the temple of the head, aiming it back towards his occipital bone, doing it on one side and then repeating on the other side. And also you guys can see that I'm not removing all the bulk. I'm keeping about 1 finger of bulk that I'm removing, because in a way this is going to serve me as a guide at the end of the video when I create that skin to stubble transition. So in the previous step, I used my soft trimmer. What a soft trimmer is a trimmer that is not zero gapped. In this step, I'm using my hard trimmer. It's a trimmer that is zero gapped and is a lot sharper than the previous trimmer. So I gave myself a finger of room to create this zero transition. Don't move on to this step until your work is organized and clean. Dust off your client. Make sure there's no leftover hair, because we're opening up our lever. I'm using my Babyless Silver FXs. This creates the half. We go 1 finger above to create a proportional guideline. Run through this step multiple times, guys, until your guideline is so crispy and clean. So then you can go in with this trimmer, my soft trimmer that I used to create the first guideline. We're baby tapping the beginning of the line just to move it, to make our job easier on the next step to blend out this sturdy first guideline. So sometimes when I run through this step, my guideline might get a little bit shorter and it won't cross 1 finger's length of width, I guess you can say. So if you guys do run through that problem, go again through the guideline and make sure it's a finger thick at least. How we're gonna erase this guideline is my favorite technique for the first guideline. It's called middle open closed. So we start with our lever in the middle. We hit the guideline in the middle like I'm doing in the step. We run through it back and forth about, I'd like to say 3-4 times. This will soften up the guideline for us to then open up the lever a little bit. Then we go a tiny bit higher into the guideline until our lever is completely open and we're hitting the full guideline. And then after we hit the full guideline, we then close our lever and hit the beginning of the guideline. We do that multiple times until we're comfortable on moving on to another side of the head. So you guys can see I opened up my lever all the way through. Everything's blending out nice and crispy. So I can close my lever now and hit the beginning of the guideline. So it's super important to only baby tap this line, because you don't want to smudge the line and make it, take your fade a little bit higher. That happens to all of us when we're barely beginning. I'm using my thumb to move the lever as I'm going higher into the guideline, just for speed purposes. Once you guys get the hang of it, you guys will be able to run through this step way faster. But still though, guys, take your time. Make sure that every zone of the head is blended correctly until you're ready to move on to the next step. Once that guideline is completely blended and you feel comfortable moving on to the next step is going to be to attach our number 1 guard. We're going to open up the lever. This creates the 1.5. Take your time creating this guideline like any other step. So what you do on one side, you want to do it to the other side. Once that guideline is complete, you guys can see that harsh line right there. The way we're going to blend this out is going to be a 2-step process. We're using our number 1 guard, our levers all the way up, which means our levers closed. We want to hit the beginning of the guideline right there. Just barely hit it. Go from the temple all the way down to the end of the guideline. Go back and forth 1 time until we're ready to open up the lever 1 notch. And we repeat the process until our lever is completely open. And on the next step, we're going to use our 0.5 guard to completely blend out this line. This is the hardest part of the whole blending tutorial. We're using our 0.5 guard to finalize this second guideline that we just softened with the number 1 guard. The way we erase this line completely, we want to close our lever and do the same method that we did with the 1 guard. So we start with our lever closed and we keep opening up the lever little by little as we go higher into the fade. But in this step, we want to use about half the finger of room that we used to create the guideline with the 1 guard. That's kind of like, I'd like to say, our fade zone. We don't want to go any higher than that. So just make sure you guys focus on how high you guys are going in this step. Everything is coming together in this fade, so you guys can see how we're working from that bottom area to the top area. This is the last step. In the beginning of the tutorial, we used the number 2 guard to create our base. Now what we're going to do, we're going to soften that line using the close to open lever method with the 2 guard, and then on the next step we're going to use the 1.5 guard and repeat the same method. This is probably the most important part of the whole tutorial, erasing this bulk that we have left over. I go in and I grab my hard trimmer, my sharpest trimmers, and I go down like this with the grain just to get as close as possible without going up and just getting rid of the bulk. So do that across the whole head, and that's why in the beginning of the video we kept our work nice and organized, because it does matter how much you go down in this step, because the bottom hair is going to serve as a guideline with how much to actually bald out with our shaver. So right here I'm going to go in very gently, giving a rough outline of how much I have to bald out below that bulk. So like always guys, take your time, make sure you guys don't rush this process, and shave everything below that hair guideline. for speed, I like using my Bronze Series 9. It's just a bigger shaver, it's more powerful, and I can just bald out everything way quicker. And for precision, I like using my double-sided foil shaver or a single foil shaver, whichever one you guys like. After this step, we're gonna go in down with our straight razor, hitting that line that we were hitting down with the grain with the trimmer, just to get rid of any little stubble or any little inconsistencies in our fade. So after doing every single step in this blending tutorial, this was the before and this is the after. You guys can see the nice crispy blend. This is a simple mid fade with no hooks, using the tool guard with the lever open all the way towards the parietal ridge area. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment down below any ideas you guys have for my channel or feedback that you guys just want to give out to me. I really appreciate all the support thus far. I'll catch you guys on the next tutorial. Peace.